Oh, hello. In today's video, we're going to do a faction review of the Death Corps, formerly known as the Veteran Guardsmen. So, introduction. The Death Corps kill team have access to the security and seek and destroy archetypes, which are pretty good. I think this is definitely a security team, all told. Okay. So you must take a Watchmaster. He can either have a bolt gun, or he can totally mix and match between the bolt pistol, plasma pistol, and relic las pistol, and the chainsword or the power weapon. So, as you'll see with the rest of the team, the selections with the Death Corps are really flexible. That's kind of one of their gimmicks. So there's really no reason not to go for the plasma pistol and the power weapon, right? You can then take 4 troopers, and so you probably should. If you don't have a second box, so you can't take 4 troopers, you can, instead of taking the troopers, select one of your ploys to cost 0 CP for the battle, and you can do that up to 4 times. I don't think you ever want to choose to do that. I think you always are going for the 4 troopers, unless you genuinely don't have the second box available to you. And then you pick 9 operatives from this list of 14 operatives that are all specialists. So there's no... There's not like the gunner pool, where we've seen with other teams like the Brood Brothers and the Kaskin, this idea that you can only take so many gunners and the snipers also in the gunner pool. That's not a thing, so your gunners and your snipers aren't competing with each other, except insofar as they're competing with everybody in the whole team. So it becomes a question of which 5 models are you not bringing, and I've got my ideas, and you'll see a list at the end. But it's not a straightforward question. Your team-wide special rule is Guardsman orders. I'll read them. The soldiers of the Death Corps of Krieg are unquestioningly loyal to their officers, following barked orders with a speed and efficiency that is the envy of many other regiments. So this is a strategic gambit and a support. A friendly Death Corps Watchmaster operative can issue a Guardsman order. Whenever it does, select 1 Guardsman order for all friendly Death Corps operatives within 6 of it to receive. Whenever a friendly operative receives a Guardsman order, apply its rules until the end of the turning point. Operatives cannot benefit from more than 1 Guardsman order at once. They only benefit from the most recent order they received during the turning point. And you've got 4 different orders to choose from. Take aim! Outfitted and trained for attritional infantry combat, the soldiers of Krieg have undertaken endless hours of lasgun drills. Ranged weapons of operatives that receive this order, excluding mortar barrage and remote detonator, have the balanced special rule. Really important to get a free reroll when you're a team that's generally hitting on 4s. Fix bayonets! The kind of warfare undertaken by the Death Corps of Krieg requires their troopers be well versed in close quarters fighting and trench clearance. Melee weapons of operatives that receive this order have the balanced special rule. Situational, because you're probably not going to be in combat that often. You're going to spend most of your time living in take aim, but it's definitely situationally useful. Dig in! Obstinate to the last, the soldiers of Krieg establish defensive positions and hold them with grim determination. Whenever an operative is shooting a friendly operative that's received this order, if you can retain any cover saves, you can reroll one of your defense dice. That's pretty good, especially if you're playing on Vulcus. I don't think it's worth being in it and not being in take aim, but maybe you're going to be in turning point 1 if you don't reckon you're going to get any shots. I think you spend most of your time in take aim. Move! 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 Responding to a barked order from their Watchmaster, the soldiers of Krieg pick up the pace and hustle towards the next objective. Whenever an operative that's received this order is performing the reposition action, add 1 inch to its move stat. Again, you might want that in turn 1, but I really do think you're going to live generally in take aim. Which, team-wide balance is not bad, but it's not as awesome as some of these faction rules that we've seen for other factions, is it really? Strategy ploys. So we've got Siege Warfare. Death Corps infantry are at home in the dreadful grind of siege warfare, repelling their foes with overlapping fields of withering fire. Death Corps operatives' ranged weapons have the Saturate special weapon rule. That's good, that's basically no cover. On Vulcus, I think you're probably going to use that most turns, yeah. On other kill zones, it becomes much less useful. Take cover! Used to fighting in the close confines of trenches and tunnels, Krieg soldiers make excellent use of whatever meagre cover they can find. Whenever an operative is shooting a friendly Death Corps operative, if you can retain any cover saves, improve that friendly operative's save stat by 1. Really key, again, on Volkers. I think this is a good candidate for doing in the first turn with the free strategic ploy, if that's what you want to do. Gives all your guys who are in cover a slightly better save. I think it's generally worth doing. Clear the line! Should the enemy break through, the soldiers of Krieg are disciplined enough to retain their composure and repel the foe. Whenever a friendly Death Corps operative is fighting in your territory, contesting an objective marker or retaliating, its melee weapons have the accurate one special rule. So a real turning point for fistfight and a minefield desperation move, but one that might just turn something for you depending on who you're against for sure. And then finally we've got regroup. Even in the confusion of combat, the Death Corps of Krieg retain their focus, returning to the formation as they destroy the enemy with accurate last fire. Support, select one friendly Death Corps operative, there's more than 3 from enemy operatives. Each other friendly Death Corps operative within 5 of that operative and not within control range of the enemy operatives can immediately perform a free dash action in order of your choice, but each that does so must end that move closer to that operative. Note that a comms device from the universal equipment only affects the second distance of this rule. So, you've got synergy with the comms device. You could use your orders with synergy with the comms device, although later we'll see there's a way to kind of circumvent the range requirement on orders as it goes. So probably the universal equipment comms device isn't really something that you need. Getting everybody to dash towards a guy could come in later in the game, though. It could well come in. You can't use this ploy in the chronometer in the same turning point, and we'll see what the chronometer is. A one-use thing that gives everybody a team-wide dash. Good. Right. Firefight ploys. So, inspirational leadership. The greatest officers lead by example, issuing orders with calm precision even as they cut down their foes. Support, use this firefight ploy during a friendly Death Corps Watchmaster or Death Corps Confidant's operative's activation. Before or after it performs an action, it issues a guardsman order. So this is an interesting ploy. It would let bits of your team have different orders if you wanted to. Like, remember what it doesn't do is let you have 2 orders, because when you receive a guardsman order, it automatically overwrites a guardsman order that you had previously. Your leader can use this for 0 CP if you don't do an order in the strategy phase. In case you maybe weren't sure what you wanted to do and you wanted to let the situation develop, I guess. I don't think I'm spending CP to use this ever, really. Unless it's just so happens that, if I just give that one guy an extra inch of movement, I'll just about manage to do something. Right, but I don't think I'm going to use it very often. Combined arms. Precisely coordinated fire is capable of taking down even the most potent of enemies. Use this firefight ploy after rolling your attack dice for a friendly Death Corps operative. If it's shooting an enemy operative that's been shot by another friendly Death Corps operative during this turning point, you can re-roll any of your attack dice. Really, really good. Re-roll everything is really, really good. You do have the hoop you have to jump through where, that operative has to have been shot by somebody else. Other teams can get rerolls without having to jump through as many hoops, but it is a good ability, especially on a low ballistic skill team. In Life Shame, the cult of Krieg demands sacrifice in the name of the Emperor, so those who are yet to give their lives must atone by achieving even greater feats on the battlefield. We use this firefight ploy when a friendly Death Corps operative is activated and given an engage order. It receives every guardsman order. This takes precedence over the normal rule that operatives cannot benefit from more than one guardsman order at once. This is cute and funny. I don't know how often having all 4 of those orders is really going to help that much. I think basically the situation you use this in is if you have somebody that's going to charge off like a mad lad, and your whole team has the shooting order, which is going to be the general order of things, and you want him to get that close combat order, and also maybe the +1 inch to his movement, then it can come in, sure. Finally, in Death Atonement. All soldiers of Krieg are destined to die in battle. The cult of sacrifice teaches that in death they will earn forgiveness for the sins of their forebears. Use this firefight ploy when a ready friendly Death Corps operative is activated. If it isn't within control range of enemy operatives before it's moved from the kill zone, it can immediately perform 1 free activation. Unless otherwise specified, the operative will be injured for this. Yeah, really good. You've got an array of gunners and other things with decent guns. So when you kill one of your gunners, you know, you can just go, cool, 1 CP, and now I'm shooting you. Bonus pointer is with the melter gun, right? You run out with your melter gun, you shoot a marine, you fail to kill the marine shoots you back, and you go, aha, you pay your CP, and then you do this, then you shoot the marine again with the melter gun, and it's like, okay, we traded 1 for 1. Fine. Yeah, really useful. Watchmaster. So we're into the data sheets now. So we can see the standard array of things. It's a 2 APL team with a 6-up move, a 6-inch move, a 5-up save, 7 wounds base, 8 wounds because it's the leader. The Watchmaster can has adaptive orders. So if the operative doesn't issue a guardsman order as a strategic gambit, you can use inspirational leadership firefight ploy for 0 CP during this operative's activation. I don't know that that's useful. I think you're just going to do your order in the strategy phase most of the time. I think you may as well give this guy a plasma pistol and a power weapon and send him off to his doom to hopefully kill something, right? Why wouldn't you be more careful with your leader? Well, for one thing, in this edition of the game, there's no general penalty for losing your leader, like Headhunter's not a mechanic, right? So send your leader off to die. But doesn't that mean you lose access to your orders? No, because we take this guy, the Confidant. Okay, so the Confidant has second in command. If a friendly Watchmaster operative is incapacitated and removed from the kill zone, you can use this rule. If you do, until the end of the battle, this operative can issue a guardsman order as a strategic gambit, even though it's not a Watchmaster operative. So you've got your backup plan in case your leader dies. You can give your Confidant a bolter, right, a bolt gun, right, and send him near the back with the rest of your gunners, and whilever the leader is still alive, the Confidant can use directive. So directive says whenever this operative is activated, if you haven't used the second in command rule during the battle, you can select one other ready friendly Deathcore operative visible to him within 6 of it. When this operative is expended, activate the other friendly operative before your opponent activates. If that operative is a trooper, ignore its group activation. So this is quite nice because it means that what you can do is shoot somebody and then activate somebody else with a better gun who shoots the same person, and they're then eligible for combined arms because they've already been shot with a different target. So that's quite a nice interaction. And then by late turning point 2, turning point 3, maybe he ends up having to issue your orders for you instead because your Watchmaster's got himself killed, but that's probably fine. Medic. It's the standard medic. I'll read the stuff just in case this is your first one of these videos, right? So, medic! The first time during his turning point that another friendly Deathcore operative will be removed from the kill zone as incapacitated, while visible to him in 3 of this operative, you can use this rule, providing neither this nor that operative is within control range of an enemy operative. If you do, that friendly operative is incapacitated and has 1 wound remaining. That friendly operative can immediately perform a free dash action, but must end that move within this operative's control range. Subtract 1 from this and that operative's APL stats until the end of their next activations respectively. And if this rule was used during that friendly operative activation, that activation ends. You cannot use this rule if this operative is incapacitated. But it's the standard medic rule, right? And he's also got the standard medic kit, so for 1 AP, select 1 friendly Deathcore operative within this operative's control range to regain 2d3 lost wounds. It cannot be an operative that the medic rule was used on during this turning point. This operative cannot perform this action while within the control range of another enemy operative. I think you do take this guy because you're basically spending your game castling up, doing long range shooting, and the medic's a nice thing to have too if people are trying to shoot you back, right? To keep him out of sight, hidden, concealed, and then just be like, oh, you killed my plasma gun who was left on engage. Now my plasma gun's alive again, so you better shoot him again with something else. That's pretty cool. Bruiser. The Bruiser has a trench club. So just to go back to the medic briefly, your general combat weapon is a bayonet with 3 dice in on force 2, 3. So the trench club gets an extra dice, gets an extra point of regular damage, and has shock. And then his special rule is Bruiser. Once per turning point when this operative is fighting or retaliating, in the resolve attack dice step, you can ignore the damage inflicted on it from 1 normal success. It's fine. Against another weakish 7 wound team, you can probably do work with this guy in combat. In this present elite meta, it's just sort of a sad joke. I don't think you'd ever take one. Gunners. By now, we probably know what gunners do. I think you always take the grenade launcher, the plasma, and the melter. in this team just every time, because really having decent guns is your thing. Sometimes take the Flamer, like, against a Hordish team, and especially on Into the Dark. You know, the Flame... I said this before, like, the Flamer hitting on 2s versus the other things hitting on 4s, given that there's no opportunity cost in terms of gunners. So you're like, oh, I can take a Flamer instead of a Medic, right? That's suddenly a thing. Like, it's not, oh, I'll take a Flamer instead of a grenade launcher. It's, oh, I can take a Flamer instead of, like, a Medic, right? Then suddenly I'm thinking, oh, I might get more out of that against the right team and in the right environment. So, you know, if there was ever a case to take a Flamer, because the Krieg don't have a gunner pool, and you take just all the gunners, maybe you want the Flamer sometimes, but generally I think you're leaving it at home. You got the Sapper. The Sapper I really struggle with. So the Sapper's like a mine layer guy, but the mining ops is just so kind of bad. So, mine layer. This operative is carrying your mine marker. It can perform the pickup marker action on that marker, and whenever it performs the place marker action on that marker, it can immediately perform the dash action. Detonate. So detonate is a shooting attack, which, first of all, like, a lot of these other markers and things, like the mine layers, like the Phobos mine layer, for example, it's just damage. It's because it's happening out of phase, it gets to just be damage that goes straight through your defense dice, straight through your save. It just does this much damage. This is suddenly having to contend with your armor saves, right? And the fact that it's, you know, so yeah, it's a gun. It's 4 dice, hits on 2s, 5, 6, heavy dash only, limited, piercing, silent, and detonate. So detonate, don't select a valid target, instead shoot each operative within 2 inches of your mine marker, unless heavy terrain is wholly intervening between that operative and that marker. Each of those operatives cannot be in cover or obscured. Roll each sequence separately in an order of your choice. This weapon cannot be selected if your mine marker isn't in the kill zone. At the end of the action, remove your mine marker from the kill zone. So, the Sapper is now closer to working how he should work in your head. Like, previously in the last edition of the game, people were very aggressive with the Sapper. They would, like, use him to get something right down in somebody's face, and they'd be trying to dash away and explode it in the same activation, which often required an extra action point from the Vox to do. But now, because the remote detonator is heavy dash only, at best you can dash, drop the marker, dash away, explode it. Someone's unlikely to just be standing 3 inches away from you, so you've lost a lot of flexibility to use it as a weapon that you're going to immediately detonate. You have to use it kind of more how the game, I guess, wants you to use it, where you move on to an objective, you place down your mine thing, you sort of go and lurk in an area that's vaguely near the objective, but like out of the way, and then when somebody comes on to try and do the objective, then you activate and push the button. But doing what it narratively should do, I think makes it quite weak. Because it's not like a proximity mine, it doesn't just go off, right? It's not like what Kasrkin have or Phobos have. It has to be activated, it has to be touched off. Makes it very easy. If you're using it in that way, where you're going to place it and then wait for your opponent to stand on it, yeah, you can put it on an objective. It becomes quite easy for your opponent to play around. I don't know. I don't rate it. I'd probably leave it at home, which seems mad because he was like Vanguard players loved him in the previous edition. But what can you do? Sniper, standard. Like if you imagine a sniper in this edition of the game, and there's your boy, right? So 4 dice, hitting on 2s, 3/3, Dev 3, heavy, silent. The concealed position debuff where he can only shoot that way once. Then he drops down to a stationary profile. It's the same without silence, or a mobile profile that's 4 dice hitting on 3s, 3/4 with no special rules. He's just a standard sniper. I think you always take one. He fits in really nicely what the team wants to do. He's powerful. He can get buffs from various sources. And it's not competing. You don't have to wring hands about this or a grenade launcher, right? It's this or a medic. So you're going to take this. Spotter. Spotter is life. Spotter is like really, really good and important in this edition of Kill Team. So Spotter gives you access to 2 of the best special rules. You can see through all obscuring, and you have Seek Light on a weapon. So I'll read you how it works. So for 1 AP, you can spot. Select one enemy operative visible to this operative once during the turning point. When a friendly Deathcore operative within 3 of this operative is shooting an enemy operative, you can use this effect. If you do, that friendly operative's ranged weapons have Seek Light, and the enemy operative can't be obscured. Really good, really powerful. And what's more, after you've spotted, you can call in a mortar barrage. And the mortar barrage is silent. The mortar barrage remains silent for the whole game, so you don't have the sniper problem of having to do it once and then worry and relocate. So you can just put your spotter in your castle, he can pump out some damage, and he can heavily buff, your sniper, your plasma, whatever you're trying to do. Troopers, you're going to have 4 of them. They activate in pairs, they've got group activation. Whenever this operative is expended, you must then activate one of your other ready friendly Deathcore Trooper operatives is able before your opponent activates. When that other operative is activated, your opponent then activates as normal. So you have 4. You send them out to gum up objectives, do chip damage to bad guys, slow them down to enable your better models to benefit from combined arms, right? And it's 2 extra activations before you have to commit to your really good models, right? So you can really mess around with this team, you can do things like waste an activation, going, I'm a spotter, I'll buff this guy. Later we'll see the Vox can buff this guy. You can mess around with your troopers. Against elites, you're really just trying to get them to position so you can then see what the lay of the land is and shoot the guys that you want to shoot. The Veteran is a second kind of resilient combat guy. So he has a Bionic Arm, which is 3 attacks in on force 4/5. And then he has a survivable rule which is called Bionics, which is where he normal damage of 3 always inflicts 1 less damage. And he has Veteran Guardsman. When he's activated, he can receive a Guardsman order, so you can buff him up to have the combat order, so you get a reroll in combat or the defensive order, whatever you want. He's another kind of resilient combat guy. Maybe I like him better than the Bruiser because he just does more damage, but honestly, I'm probably not taking both into most games if I'm playing Vet Guard. I'm going to want to lean into what they're good at, which is being a sort of shooting firebase. Vox. So, first thing to notice is the Vox does the standard comms thing, so it's called Signal. For 1 AP, select one other friendly Deathcore operative visible to and within 6 of this operative. Until the end of that operative's next activation, you add 1 to its APL stat. Okay, not bad. And then you've got relay orders. Once per turning point, when this operative receives a Guardsman order, if it's not within control range of enemy operatives, it can relay that order. Whenever an order is relayed, all friendly Deathcore operatives in the kill zone receive the order, then subtract 1 from the operative's APL stat till the end of its next activation. So, you can relay orders, and then you can also signal. It's pretty cool as a piece. It's pretty mandatory, I think, to broadcast your orders to your whole team, which is good. Zealot. So, Lasgun Bayonet. Zealot has a really great buff. So, Uplifting Primer, support. Whenever a friendly Deathcore operative is within 3 of this operative, that friendly operative weapons have the Severe special rule. So, Severe is, if you don't roll a crit, you promote one of your hits to a crit. Really, really good for a sniper. And pretty good for your melter and plasma and grenade launcher and everything else as well. But really, really good for a sniper. So, the problem I have with this guy is he's really good. I'm going to take him for his excellent buff. You probably try and park him next to both your sniper and your plasma gun in a little castle. You could use him on the Universal Equipment comms to give a 5-inch range to his support power, which would let you be a little bit more flexible with your placement, which might be worth doing. My struggle with this guy is what does he do on his activation? You're going to be like, I activate my Zealot, and I pass. Because what your Zealot's doing is standing there buffing other people for free. He doesn't need to spend APL to do it. But as soon as you reveal him and shoot with a lasgun or something, you're going to get shot back because you're giving out a pretty decent buff. He does have some defense, so he has the Emperor Protects. Whenever an operative is shooting this operative, you can re-roll any of your defense dice, which is pretty cool. Equipment. So we're going to start with the chronometer. Chronometer, 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 chronometer. One of the two. Krieg combat operations are performed to strict schedules. Synchronized chronometers ensure operatives adhere to the time frames laid down by command. Once per battle strategic gambit in the first or second turning point, each friendly Deathcore operative wholly within your territory can immediately perform a free dash action in an order of your choice, but must end that move closer to the opponent's drop zone or kill zone edge. You cannot use a strategic gambit in the regroup strategy ploy during the same turning point. I think this is a really good ability. You're probably using this in turning point 1 just to like get up, get onto, get properly into the shooting areas that are near to your deployment zone, right? And it's team wide, it's pretty cool. Combeads. Vox casters and receivers allow Deathcore soldiers to remain in contact even though they are separated in the confusion of battle. Whenever a friendly Deathcore Watchmaster or friendly Deathcore Confidant issues a guardsman order, you can use this rule. If you do, instead of each friendly Deathcore operative within 6 receiving the order, you can select one friendly Deathcore operative to receive the order. Now, I kind of at first thought this was pointless. Why would I only want one model, like it could be a model on the other side of the field? Why would I only want one model to have my order instead of like a whole bunch of them? But you just use this to order the Voxman, and then the Voxman tells everybody else. Right? That's just what you do. So if your leader with his plasma pistol and his power sword has wandered off up the field and somehow failed to die, so your confidant can take over, then you will be glad you have Vox combeads, because then you can just be like, cool, hey Voxcaster, these are my orders, and then the Voxcaster spends an action point and goes, cool, now everybody's got the orders. Seems fine to me. Hand axes. Issued primarily as tools rather than weapons, these sharp-bladed axes can be utilised in melee should the close confines prevent the use of bayonets. So it's 3 dice hitting on 4s, 3, 4. I'm just going to double check. What's your bayonet? 3 dice hitting on 4s, 2, 3. Yeah, it's probably worth having, just in case it comes in. And then finally we've got gas bombardment. Calling for artillery support, the Deathcore request a chemical barrage, knowing full well that even enviro-sealed uniforms will not protect them from the poisonous fumes. Once per battle, strategic gambit. Place your gas marker in the kill zone. It cannot be placed on any advantage terrain. Whenever an operative is within 3 of the marker, subtract 1 from its APL stats. In the ready step of the next strategy phase, remove the marker. Note the operative's APL stats only change while it's in 3 of the marker. If it moves more than 3 from that marker, its APL stat is no longer changed by this rule. You can really just gum up your opponent's plans by doing this in turn 1 when they're all in the drop zone, right? Especially if they've got a load of guys clustered behind a wall. You just go, right, gas attack. These are all -1 APL. What are you going to do about it, right? It's very funny to me that your Krieg aren't immune to their own gas, though, given that they all have gas masks. But I like the faction equipment. I think generally I'm looking to take most of it. If I'm dropping something, I'm dropping hand axes. If I'm dropping a second thing, maybe I'm dropping the chronometer. Because I might want smoke grenades, I might want all kinds of barricades, loads of things I might want. But yeah, faction equipment's pretty okay. Attack ops, we got Seek and Destroy and security again. I think contain is probably your best choice, so keeping people out of your table half and out of within 6 of your drop zone. But as I've explained previously, take ground is really easy to score on some maps. So take ground, you score a VP at the end of each turning point after the first, and it's in Volcus that we're worried about, okay? So in Killzone Volcus, if friendly operatives control stronghold terrain features within your opponent's territory, you score 2 VP for each ruin, large or small, terrain feature within your opponent's territory that friendly operatives control, you score 1 VP. So there are a few of the Volcus maps where there's it doesn't say wholly within, right? So there are a few of the Volcus maps where there's a stronghold that's just barely within your opponent's territory, and should be pretty easy for you to occupy for an easy 2 VP. So I'm oscillating between those two. Here's my sample list. Okay, so I would consider taking the Watchmaster, 4 troopers, the Watchmaster with the power plasma pistol and power weapon, 4 troopers, a Confidant with the bolter, melter gun, plasma gun, grenade launcher, and then I'm going to go sniper, spotter, Vox, medic, and zealot. So we've left loads of stuff out. If you know, and there are definitely cases where you'd want to swap those things in. Okay, but I think this is my all-comers list. If you disagree, if you've got a different idea of a sort of best all-comers list, leave it in a comment down below. That's really helpful. It is a 2-box team. You need to buy 2 boxes. First of all, to get the 4 extra troopers, and second of all, to build all your various options that you might occasionally want to swap into, right? Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any of these in stock anywhere right now, so good luck. Games Workshop will eventually make them available for release again, so don't pay too much money on eBay for some veteran guardsmen, okay? And we're done. Final thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have I picked the right models to drop for my sample list, or do you think, no, this is one of the best models, why have you dropped it? Fundamentally, I'm not sure this team does enough. If this is your vibe, if you want a big team of multiple army men to shoot a lot, I just kind of feel like Brood Brothers does the job better, and they have fun gimmicks. I'm not quite sure what Krieger bring into the party that makes them better than Brood Brothers. Like, yeah, they have a few bits, but I'm just not sure it adds up to enough. Okay, so I want to review some of the other Horde teams. I think I'm going to do Blooded next. Trying to go through the teams that use kind of the standard, like plasmas, melters, the standard Imperial weapons. I think it'd be interesting. I know we did Kasrkin. Ignore the fact that I did Kasrkin. I just was thinking about Kasrkin on that day. But I think in general the plan is to do the proper, genuine Horde teams. So I'm going to do Blooded next, I think, and then we'll see where we go from there. I want to say thank you to all of my members, subscribers, and supporters. Thank you so much. I think we're on like 1,996 subscribers now, so it'd be great to get to 2k over the weekend. Just need 4 more subscribers. It could be you. That'd be really cool. Thank you to those people who are channel members that choose to support me financially every single week. Thank you so much. If you want to consider channel membership, it's just a link within YouTube. It's like Patreon, but it's the YouTube-based version of Patreon. The most important thing that you get access to is you get access to the recordings of all of the Wednesday night hobby stream chats that we do. You also get access to an extra room on the Discord, although bear in mind the Discord is generally free, so if you're not in the Discord already, you should be, okay? And then yeah, consider membership if you have extra cash, I suppose, and want to feed it to a random guy on YouTube. Alright guys, my voice is starting to give out. The perils of being a teacher are in winter time, alright, cold and flu season. But thank you very much, and I will see you again tomorrow evening, hopefully, with a rundown of the Blooded, unless they drop some really exciting news on Warcom. Alright guys, see you then. Bye bye, bye bye bye, bye bye, goodbye.